So I've been doing intermittent fasting for about 18 months now, and aside from losing weight, and by the way, I've lost a lot of weight because I go back and watch some of my videos from 18 months ago at the beginning of the pandemic, and even I'm shocked by it. And I feel my clothes fit a whole lot better. Just the other day, it felt like my pants were gonna fall down, and I haven't bought new clothes for a while, and then all of a sudden I had to replace a lot of my clothes just because of all the weight that I lost. But I want to say the number one big benefit, I'll let you pause the video to think about it. I'm much more happy-go-lucky when I'm in a fasted state. The unfortunate thing is that as soon as I start eating again, I get angry again. I tend to feel best when I'm 12 to 16 hours into fasting. Even beyond 16, I do pretty good. Right after a big meal is when I'm likely to get into a rage over something. And I think it would be really tragic if one day I ate and then I got into a big rage and then I lost a job, got into legal trouble, got into a serious altercation where I got injured or I injured somebody. I just think that would be tragic. I often have nightmares at night that I'm sitting in a jail cell because I got into one of these altercations, and thinking about what I ate that led to nightmares like that drive me to fast. And maybe I'm overthinking it, but this past 18 months, I can think of too many times where I got angry because of having just eaten. I try to limit eating to after I get home when the day is done, so I always have at least an 8-hour fast when I'm out in public. The problem is that sometimes professional events or social events revolve around eating, right? Going to a job interview, going to graduation with my students, which I'll eventually have to do. I've kind of gotten the get out of jail free card 2 years in a row, but that's not going to last forever. So I thought I'd make a video about all the times I've been angry in times past and how that would go if I were fasting. Now, 10 years ago, I had opened a bank account with, it used to be called ING Direct, and they had a high yield savings account. You gotta remember, this is right after the Great Recession when any interest was good news. So I'd opened the account and I made my deposit in there. Didn't have a whole lot of money at the time. Made the deposit in there, and just a few days later, I see on a website that they were offering a $50 or $100 bonus to new account openings. But unfortunately, I had already opened it a week earlier, and I got really upset. I emailed ING Direct to see if they could offer some other bonus. They didn't respond to me, and I got angry and I started slandering them on Facebook and other social media, and I started writing all sorts of bad news about them. I might have even made a YouTube video. I can't remember. I'll go back and see. But long story short, I wouldn't let it go, and I kept emailing them, writing, and they closed my account over that. And that's the kind of fury I get into when I'm not fasted. See, nowadays I run into situations like that a lot, as you can imagine. That's part of life. When I'm fasted, I tend to think a lot more positively. Maybe somebody else needed the money more than I did. I have enough to spend, right? Even back then I had enough. I wasn't missing the $50 or $100 to put a roof over my head or to eat. I had too much to eat, right? And it wasn't that. It was just that I just had too much time on my hands after having a good meal. That's what it was. When I'm somewhat hungry and I'm in a lightweight attitude, those things blow over quick. When I was 18 years old, I didn't have a whole lot of friends. And I had a classmate who had gotten a DUI. We lived in Pennsylvania, and they have zero tolerance laws. You know, if you're under 21 and you have any amount of alcohol, I don't think you even have to be driving at the time you're intoxicated. I think it's a DUI if you just have any alcohol when you're under 21. So my friend had gotten a DUI, and I was so upset because I didn't understand the concept of drinking at all. It's hard enough to make friends when you're not drinking, and so after he had gotten the DUI, I slandered him amongst all of our friends. Facebook didn't exist at the time, but I made sure all of his friends knew about his DUI, and he got so upset at me. To this day, 16 years later, we have still not made up for it. I wasn't upset at him. I just had too much extra energy on my hands. You know, had I been fasting, I still have friends who do stupid stuff to this day. I usually feel sorry for them. I try to problem solve with them. I don't get angry that they overuse their privilege or misuse their privilege when I don't have what they have. No. But fast forward 16 years later. So back then, people doing stupid stuff and not making good use of their privilege used to bother me. Nowadays, most of my peers are in a committed relationship. I'm happily single. I'm in a solo-sexual relationship. Unfortunately, people don't always treat me fairly, especially at the workplace. I'm recording this in July of 2021. Back in May, we had a lunar eclipse, and I had to work the day after that. I wish I could have taken a day off and said, I want to go out with, my boyfriend, myself. Unfortunately, my coworkers, when they say they want to go out with their significant others, they usually get their way. But you know what? I was fasting back in May. It didn't bother me so much. I might have recorded a YouTube video saying, can we be a little bit more progressive? But I didn't get angry and slander people. And in the past, I would have slandered people. I used to love slandering. It's going to get me in trouble one day. That's why I need to keep myself happy so I don't do that. And it doesn't solve any problems. What really solves the problems of inequality among singles is actually discussing with the person, right? Slandering people, saying how bad an employer, I have, or, blaming people doesn't really solve anything. Now, at the beginning of the pandemic, when I was still battling eating disorder problems and I wasn't fasting, I just had too much time on my hands. I was on Craigslist looking at a gold coin this guy wanted to sell. He was asking for some amount, let's say it was $1,700, I don't remember the details. And I pretended to go along with it. We're gonna meet, and I made sure to meet him out of his way so I could bait and switch him. And we got there and I pulled out $1,100 in cash, basically take it or leave it, thinking that after he made the drive, he wouldn't want to back out of the deal. And he didn't take it, and he got very furious, and we were in a parking lot of a bank doing this because we wanted to have some security. This was at the beginning of the pandemic when the bank itself was closed, broad daylight, so nothing dangerous there. But he got into his car and he raced around the bank parking lot going at least 30 or 40 miles an hour, circling the parking lot twice and pretending to want to hit me, and then he raced out of the bank. And I just had too much ugly energy on my hands. See, when I'm fasting, those things would never cross my mind, right? I would negotiate with him, or I would do something more productive with my time, right? 9 years ago, I was traveling on a flight to Taiwan. During the flight, I had opened my window to look at some scenery, and a very beautiful scenery. We were flying through the coast of Siberia. As I'm viewing the scenery, the guy behind me orders a Coke. And it really infuriated me because with so much to enjoy in life, it bothered me that some people would drink their life away on Coke. And not very healthy for them, shorten their lifespan so they could take fewer trips to Taiwan in the future. That's my logic, at least. That's the kind of logic I operate with when I'm high on eating too much, right? Which I probably was at the time. I don't remember the details. But it upset me so much. And I was sitting in front of him, and I jolted my seat back to spill his Coke all over him. And I heard him cuss, and I pretended it was an accident. I said, I'm sorry. It was really on purpose. I was upset with so much to enjoy in life that some people would rather drink Coke. I just have too much energy on my head. See, when I'm fasting, I'd feel a little bit more empathy. That's too bad. At least I'm not drinking it. I'll enjoy it on his behalf, right? On humanity's behalf. But when I'm eating, things like that bother me a whole lot. I used to frequent this Whole Foods cafeteria, obviously, when I was binge eating. Now, Whole Foods, they love to keep things clean. They're constantly spraying tables. I'll be eating and all of a sudden, pew, 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 pew. It turns out the stuff they're spraying is not toxic. I think it's hydrogen peroxide. But it just angered me that people would be insensitive to the fact that I'm eating. And they'll just spray hydrogen peroxide all over my food, my face. And even after I learned it was only hydrogen peroxide, it still infuriated me that people would be insensitive. Now that I'm fasting, I can get away with not having to be infuriated, right? They spray it even more now because of the situation, obviously. And I'm usually fasting. I'll still sit in the cafeteria and work on my computer programs because I want to mingle with the right people, right? Finding my future business partner with the computer games. And then all of a sudden, pew, 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 pew. Sometimes it gets all over my computer and I have to make sure that it doesn't spill on my computer. But at least, I have some empathy now, right? When I'm fasting, I tend to feel more happy-go-lucky when I'm fasting. 15 years ago, I was living in a house with housemates. I used to have a bad habit of turning on my stereo too loud. And people would complain, and I wasn't very sensitive to that. I got to admit, I should have been a little bit more sensitive. One day I came back from school, and somebody had took my radio. And I thought for sure it was the guy living next door, in the next door bedroom from me. And I got so angry that I kicked the door, and in the process of kicking the door, that the door latch and the hinge broke completely off of the door. And it turned out the guy there had actually moved out. It was a neatly made bed and all that. But my radio was in there. And I took it back. And, had I not been eating so much when I'm fasting, I still get people who complain about my noise, right? Sometimes I'll be in a heated phone conversation and I forget where I am, right? I had an issue at the library a couple days ago. Sometimes I just, on the bus, I get heated in a phone conversation. But I'm fasting. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a better place to take this phone call, right? I work at a tutoring center. I had some difficulty with a couple clients at the tutoring center, and it really highlighted just what can go wrong if I'm not in a fasted state. So let me talk about the one where I was fasted and I handled it a whole lot better. So we recently went back to the office, and unfortunately my manager decided to use this really strong air freshener. Now I go there and I get a headache. But it's only a 2-hour session, so I decided to put up with it, and I'll deal with it after I get home, because it'll be a lot more credible if I actually deal with it and try to put up with it. And I call my manager. I said, I appreciate that you keep the place so clean, but unfortunately I went there and some of the cleaning products, or maybe it was I knew it was the air freshener, but I credited him with keeping the place clean. Didn't really bode well with me. Got a massive headache, and with the health scare still going on, the health concerns still going on, maybe I should just work remotely, because obviously it's not very good if I'm getting a headache. We need to really keep on top of everything. And long story short, he got rid of the air freshener. See, had I not been in a happy-go-lucky fasted state, I might have been more combative with my manager. Hey, get rid of the air freshener. Now, sometimes students can be very tricky to deal with. They're always, before the pandemic, the tutoring market was very buyer-oriented, right? They had a lot of choices on who to hire as a tutor. And sometimes you could do the right thing, but the client just doesn't want to take it the right way, right? A lot of times, the big problem I run into is that client, they need to study chapters 3, 4, and 5. They're behind. They got an exam in chapter 6 tomorrow. And a lot of times, you just have to teach them chapter 6, even if they have to limp along, because that's what they're going to pay you to do. I hate it. I wish I didn't have to choose between doing the right thing and actually keeping my job. I wish I didn't. I really do. Unfortunately, I keep my job so that when the time comes, I can actually do the right thing, right? I have clients who pay my bills, and then clients who give my life meaning, right? A lot of times that's how my work goes. Now, I had this one client that I ended up losing because I wanted to do the right thing. So she is from South Korea. Now she's, I want to say 9, 10 years old. And one day she had come to the center with this. I gotta put a link on my video because the people who are young probably don't know what I'm talking about. This gel candy that she had brought home, probably from South Korea, because it's banned in the United States because it's a choking hazard. They come in this cup that you suck out of the cup, and it's a big choking hazard. It made the headlines so many years ago. And so I offered to get her a paper plate and open it for her so she wouldn't have to suck out of the cup. And I explained to her that this had been a choking hazard many years ago. Long story short, later that week, my boss was very upset that I had brought this up and scared the crap out of this 8 or 9-year-old girl. And I got very defensive with my boss. I'm doing the right thing and all that. See, had I been in a fasted, happy-go-lucky state, I might have said, I'm sorry. What should I have done next time, right? And just like with the air fresheners, I'm sorry that I couldn't handle this. I can work remotely. That's me in a fasted state. Me in a full stomach state is, what's wrong with what I'm doing? Anyway, I don't know if I did the right thing or the wrong thing with that student. I certainly did the wrong thing with my boss when he was reprimanding me about it. I think I even pulled up the website on, the dangers of that stuff. And so anyway, I'm very happy-go-lucky when I'm fasting. And right now I'm only 2 hours into fasting. I don't know if you can tell the difference, but I'm already very upset about getting reprimanded that time. I'm kind of upset about the air freshener situation, that I had to bring it up. Fortunately I brought it up in a good way, but I used to work at a tech giant. And if you had sensitivity to the air freshener, you needed to go to your doctor and get a note for accommodation. See, I think they have it the wrong way around. People who are addicted to air freshener really should be the ones getting the notes, right? Imagine you needed to smoke marijuana and you couldn't even go outside to do it. Are you the one who needs to get the doctor's note, or is somebody else who's allergic to marijuana, are they the ones that need to get the note, right? I don't know why it goes the other way around with air fresheners. I really don't. Anyway, I need to be fasting all the time, but unfortunately, I can't, and that's a really big bummer to me. Thanks for watching.